Hello, and welcome to Call a Death Doula. My name is Pamela Rathbun, and the intention of this project is just really for the world to know about death doulas, what they do, and who the people behind this work is, and also just for a chance for death doulas to talk about what they do. That's helpful. It's a great helpful thing for all of us together. Today we have Jessica
Mhm.
Tomforde,
Comfort.
and Tomford, and she's in Portland, Oregon. And so, Jessica, welcome. And I just would love to hear about how you got into this work, how it is in your life right now, and how it's changed you. Just all the good stuff, as I say.
Yeah, great. Well, thank you so much for having me. I love talking about death and dying and less about myself, but here we go. Um, it's one of the hardest questions actually to answer is how I got into this work because it really feels like it was just life, right? Like step by step and kind of led me here. A few years ago, I decided to have a year of apprenticeship. And I had left a pretty stressful, fast-paced job and was coming out of the more intense time of the pandemic and had also just been with a friend who had a pretty aggressive cancer that she was treating. And I was quite close with her. And that all, I don't know, it just changed something in me. And I didn't know at the time that I was grieving. I didn't know then, I didn't have the language then or the understanding of grief to know that even though no one had died in my life, all of these changes and losses that I was experiencing in identity and in the world and this closeness with mortality that I had was really, I was experiencing this this grief. And so I said, okay, I'm leaving all of this stressful job and I'm going to go live on a farm. And I was an intern for 5 years, 5 years, 5 months. And I said, okay, my year of apprenticeship. And little did I know that my apprenticeship will probably never end. I
Right.
feel like
Yeah,
I'm still in apprenticeship.
sure.
And, I just started following the seeds of things that felt good and lit me up was what I wanted to do. And get out of my head and get out of the shoulds and the fast pace of growth and accomplishment and more and more. Um, I came from the tech industry, so I was trying to escape that. So you can't not think about death when you're on a farm. It's
Right.
just really present. And having my hands in the soil and slowing way down and watching the seasons and the animals and the plants, I just became really curious and really thoughtful around the ebbs and flows of life and death in general. And in that sense of curiosity, started exploring more just what was out there and came across green burial and just fell in love with this idea that I could have this last act with my body to give back to the
Mhm.
environment by having my body compost into the earth and under a tree, and maybe salmon would return to a river. I fell in love with this whole
Yeah.
idea. And that just led to more awareness around what was happening in the modern death movement. And I wanted to be part of it. And
Okay.
so I never knew. I decided no outcomes. Let's just see where this takes me. I had no idea. Um, Came back from the farm, and the last week while I was there, I signed up for a death doula training. And I also received the news that my mom had um, a really aggressive form of cancer as well. So she had mouth cancer.
Mm,
And I thought, oh, okay, well, maybe I'm preparing. All this has been to prepare me to be with my family and my mom, which I think it was. It's definitely part of it for sure. My mom died last year, and I
mm,
was able to be with her and my family and my own grief in I think, a different way
yeah.
because of that work I was doing. Um, but it continues on.
Right.
So I am a death doula offering what I've learned and my experience and my presence to my community at large, not just my family. Yeah.
Wow. Well, I'm sorry for the loss of your mother.
Yeah,
And
thank
just
you.
so beautiful. I think that, we're called into this work. Many people are because they experience deaths and things, and that's what inspires them. Um, but then looking back, they can see that they were being prepared to be able to help, right? And I in that same
Yeah.
way too. I mean, I'm currently soon gonna be moving in with my mom and dad. And so helping them. And so all this work and working with older people and understanding things has totally prepared me to be able to
Yeah.
be there for them in ways that I just wouldn't even have known how to before. So
Right, right. And have the courage, right, and the confidence to do
totally.
that.
Yeah.
Because one thing I have been learning through this is I actually think it's just a remembering that we're all doing,
100%. 100%.
right? And I actually had never been around a person dying or had seen a dead body. And I came out of my training wondering, okay, like theoretically, I'm on board and I'm passionate and I believe in all of this and want to be part of it, but can I actually do it? Like, what will happen in the room? And I'm not a medically trained person.
Right.
And I was like, is that gonna be too hard for me or scary? I had a lot of fear around that too.
Right.
And what I realized is being with people when they're dying, it's just loving people,
Yeah.
right? And I know how to love people
Mhm.
and showing up in those rooms with maybe these things that traditionally would feel frightening or unknown, medicalized. I just don't see those things. It's interesting. I just see the person. And that was true with my mom when she came out of her surgery. She had tubes coming from all different
Mm.
places and she had jaw surgery, so it was very visible and all that kind of fell away. I just saw
Yeah.
the human, right? I just saw my mom and just looked in her eyes and just wanted to be with her and connected to her. And that's how it's been with all of my clients. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I think remembering that we all have this inside of us, how to connect with people. And that's really what it is. It's staying in that connection
Right.
and remembering. And I tell that to my clients and their families all the time. Really, I'm here to help you remember how to be with your person at this time and have the courage and confidence to stay
Mm.
when it might feel scary.
That's a really beautiful perspective. I haven't really heard that from another doula. That's also how I approach things too, is the remembering. I mean, we haven't
Yeah.
lost our center. We haven't lost who we are. It just got all wrapped up in life.
Yeah.
And it's only love
And
in there. So many people are afraid to go inside because they think it's scary and there's guilt but it's like, well, no, actually it's
yeah,
really love. Yeah.
yeah, underneath all that. Yeah, and as many doulas probably have talked about, right, the outsourcing of this work
Yeah.
has led to us thinking that's not something that we should be part of, or it's scary, right? And it should be hidden away or done by experts.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not an expert, that's for sure. I've never died.
Right.
I
Right.
don't really know what, it all looks like, and all deaths are unique.
Yep.
But I think having that posture, that it's a posture shift for me of turning towards death and
Mm-hmm.
staying, right, and not flinching
Mm-hmm.
and being with it. And I think we can all do that with a little support.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
and really, I think that learning, I was really lucky because I came out of my training and very quickly was employed as a death
Oh,
doula
wow.
at a hospice. And
Wow,
that's
that's
kind of
amazing.
unheard of.
Yeah,
Yeah, a
that
lot
is
of
unheard
hospices
of.
aren't employing deaf doulas. And so I was sort of just thrown in. I think of it like a residency, really, like a
Yeah.
medical student would have had. And I had 30 clients on my caseload, which, right, to most of us doulas, I mean, in our private practice,
Right, you got one, right? And you focus on
yeah,
them more too. Yeah.
yeah. And so, being within a medical system, that has constraints on my time
Yeah.
and, how I can show up and when was frustrating as a doula. And also, I had to learn really quickly how to make the time matter, not to rush people through what they needed, but not to, if a door opened, right, to step into it.
Yeah.
Because if someone um, is giving the clue, right, the signal that they want to talk about something,
Mm-hmm.
it could be really easy if it's a hard thing to say, okay, maybe we'll talk about that next time,
Right.
right? Or
Gotta
give
go.
it a little
Yeah.
space. Yeah. And I didn't have that luxury. So really it forced me to be courageous and direct, right? In those
Mm-hmm.
moments, kind, of course, but
Mm-hmm.
being with them in what was really, really present because I
Yeah.
didn't know if I would see them again.
Mm-hmm.
And same with the families, being really clear about what was happening,
Yeah.
not tiptoeing around anything. And because I might not be there
Yeah.
when this person
Mm-hmm.
starts dying, and I wanted them to be equipped to be there for them.
Yeah, and I think being honest and straightforward in a kind, loving, compassionate way, I
Yeah.
think people really appreciate that. It saves so much time. Like, if you
Yeah.
can tell them at the beginning of a day, even say, you may be seeing this today, this may be happening. Like they can prepare for it instead of being in the room 5 hours later and all of a sudden this stuff starts happening and they're freaking out, right? I mean, really
Yeah.
preparing, I talk about practicing death all the time, but preparing for death. I mean, just even the morning before, because yeah, people want to know and they don't know how to ask these questions.
Right. Right.
So,
They don't know what they don't know,
I don't
too,
know.
right? And no, I think that is a huge piece of the work, because I do think that people feel actually freer and more available and present, right?
Mm-hmm.
If they have some boundaries or some kind of stakes in the sand.
Mm-hmm.
And this is my background, right? I was an operations person,
Sure, sure.
so
Yeah.
knowing like the North Star, knowing your values, and then also knowing what is possible, right? What your choices are,
Right.
and also how things may look, right? Like this is traditionally how someone naturally dies, and you might see
Right.
these kinds of things
Mm-hmm.
that, alleviate some of the fear and of that
Mm-hmm.
unknown. If it's wide open, we make up stories. We're just
Mm-hmm.
humans, right? And usually those aren't great stories that we're making up
Right.
about what could happen.
Right.
And that all I think gets in the way of being with your person. And
Mm-hmm.
so all I want to do is clear away as much of the noise that is between you and loving your person at
Yeah.
this really important sacred time.
Yeah, I mean, and I feel like as doulas, it does take courage, which just means that we have it within us to hold a scary space for other people. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And that's
Yeah.
big because a lot of people don't have that, especially when it's their person.
Yeah.
And just letting them be there. I just kind of I lost track of what I was thinking there. But but yeah, just holding that presence while other people are just so scared and just freaking out because they don't want to do the wrong thing. They're
Yeah.
losing their I mean, it's just like there can just
Yeah.
be such chaos. And yeah, like I was thinking about the death rattle. I forget what's
Oh,
the term
yeah.
for that? The something breath. But yeah, so a lot of people are just so scared. They're like, oh, they're in pain, they're suffering, it's terrible. And all
Yeah.
to simply just say, well, no, they actually have stopped swallowing and that's fluid, just if
Yeah.
you and
Yeah.
like and that gives a lot of comfort. Like, no, they've this is the natural process and it does sound, but it's just the noise that it makes.
Yeah.
And just make it okay and not like,
Yeah.
yeah, information is so helpful. Just so
Oh,
helpful.
yeah. Definitely. Yeah. And the death rattle, right? I hate that name for it, but
I know there's some technical thing, but I forgot.
yeah, but knowing that that is something that can come and that it's more upsetting for us to hear it
Right,
than
and
for
you
the
can roll them
person
on their side.
experiencing it.
I was just
Yeah.
thinking I had someone ask me, her father had had a stroke and he didn't want to have any life-sustaining stuff. And so she explained to me, she goes, it was terrible. They just let him lay there and they didn't give him any food and they didn't give him any water. And they
Mm,
called that
yeah.
comfort care and he didn't seem comfortable. And I had to explain that, that is actually the kindest thing you can do for someone is
Yeah.
to allow them to naturally have their body be dehydrated. Because
Yeah.
if you give a little bit of water or a little bit of food, it sustains the body. And so
Yeah.
that is really the most loving thing to do is to allow
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
in a comfortable way with morphine and with things that will calm the nervous system. But yeah, she was just freaked out. She thought that they were totally neglecting him, and they also weren't explaining to her why
I
they were
know.
doing that. And
That's the
so,
sad part, right? There's a
yeah,
lot of people who I think are walking around carrying that feeling after someone's been on hospice or someone has died on hospice. And I had a friend also who thought that the morphine had killed
right,
their dad, and explaining that that's not true, right? And the morphine is there to alleviate pain and part of letting go, right? The things that keep us here. Um, right, kind of tight in your body pain,
right,
right? You can't let go if you're feeling pain
right,
naturally, you can't let
right.
go. And if you're holding on maybe to regret or you want to see somebody, these emotional things that you're holding on to. And so morphine is just a way to let the body relax
Yeah.
so that people can move naturally through the
Mhm.
dying process. But a lot of people think morphine kills their person,
Right.
right?
Like if they're in charge, like that's the thing. When one of my best friends died, I was there. I hadn't experienced that before. I read the hospice pamphlet that gave the steps of what was coming, and I knew their death rattle would be there eventually.
Yeah,
But then we just had this huge bag of meds, like really powerful pain
yeah,
meds. And they just, they did their best. Everyone does their best. But the family didn't know what to do. They were like, and they're afraid if they
yeah,
give too much morphine, they'll kill them.
yeah,
And so that was really what made me, that was my first death doulaing experience that I didn't know I was a death doula yet, but I just
yeah,
knew what to do. I made a
yeah.
list of the meds. I made a schedule. I made sure everyone could just relax and I could be, it's just like, and so it'd be a couple of years, but that is really what brought me into being a death doula
Oh, neat. Yeah.
because yeah, I looked around, I was like, wow, people need
Yeah.
help in this situation.
Yeah. And really, it's just when people are struggling or don't know, when you see that fear and that uncertainty, it's just
Yeah.
figuring it out, right? Okay, what would help this situation? Like you said, you made a list, you figure out the meds were, you talk to the nurse.
Right.
In
Yeah,
some ways, it's just doing that work, right? Taking the time to see in the room what's happening for people and then
totally.
finding the way that will help them breathe a little easier.
Yeah, like
And
my friend's father was really like he wanted to go to the hospital and get medical. He was like, she died actually the next day, but at that point he was just like, how can I save her? And I was just like,
yeah,
calm down.
yeah,
She is going to die. That's what's happening right now.
yeah.
But she can hear you. So go sit with her and tell her everything you want her to know,
Yeah.
everything you want. Oh, I'm getting chills remembering this. And
Oh,
he sat down, we sang You Are My Sunshine, at which at one point she actually raised
oh,
her arm after being unconscious for, and so it's
oh,
like they can
beautiful.
hear us and
Oh,
we
yes.
let them know we love them till the end, so it's hard for us to let go. But once he calmed down and was able to just remember when she was little, and it was just so beautiful to hear. And it was just like, then everyone began to let go.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I was able to be like, okay, this is what's happening.
Yeah.
Let's make this time count.
Yeah.
And so yeah, people just need someone to be the corraler and the director kind of.
Yeah. Yeah. And gosh, like to spend your last day with someone freaking out about,
Mm,
all of that, like that makes me so sad, right? Because it's that time to you want, it's precious time, right, to be with your person. So
yeah,
I'm so glad that you were there for them.
yeah,
And that's the point too, I think of yes, I'm a death doula. I have my own death doula practice, but so many people are are being a death doula, right? To me, it's a way of being in the world, not really
absolutely. Hmm.
a role or a job. Right? Like I volunteer with a lot of people, End of Life Choices, Oregon.
Hmm.
They're volunteers. None of them call themselves a death doula per se, but they're all holding the spirit of a death doula, right? They are operating
Right.
as death doulas. And I think that's something I think about a lot as a doula, right? Like um, that's part of who I am. I bring
Absolutely.
being a death doula probably to everything I encounter.
Hmm.
Um, and I think so many people do that. And that's always been done, right? Historically in our communities, in our families.
Hmm.
And now we're calling it, we're naming death doulas in a different way. But so many of us are operating as death doulas in our day-to-day life or in our families, when
Yeah.
it's needed.
Yeah, I mean, I'd explain it simply as a doula is just a non-medical companion. So whether it's a
Mhm.
birth doula or a death doula, it's just a
Yeah,
non-medical person who is with you through that experience. So yeah,
yeah,
forever, right? The w women have,
yeah,
the women have been there for the births and the deaths and the
yeah,
yeah, and like you were saying, I mean, death happens constantly in our lives, right? And
yeah,
the death of identities, the death of jobs, right? It's every transition is a death. And
yeah,
so, if we can live like in this, non-attachment to everything, knowing that everything
yeah,
leaves in our everyday life, right? Even if
yeah.
it's like a dress we liked and it got ripped, and like, oh, I gotta throw it away, but I loved it.
I know,
I mean,
I know.
and so I just find
Yeah,
settling into that helps people really understand that, yeah, and just one day, yes, and your body will die. It's just
yeah,
everything goes like this.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's one thing that I have gotten really, really clear on in this work is um, that this body is temporary, right? And also magnificent. I think my appreciation for what my body can do after being with people, I don't know if we really understand until our body isn't doing what we want it to do, right? But I sat with so many women who loved to knit their whole lives, and
Mm,
knitting, right, was so part of who they were, how they spent their time, how they gifted to people is part of legacy in their family, right? And like my mom, when I see my hands, I see her hands knitting actually.
yeah,
So it was so woven into the fabric of who they are and their family and their community. And there was so much grief for so
mm,
many women at end of life who could no longer knit because their dexterity was gone and their eyesight. And I sat with, I mean, I've sat hours with people just, really um, so sad, right, around that one loss, which is such a huge loss, right? It seems
right.
like knitting, like, okay, we'll find some other hobby or something. And so things like that have really now informed me in my day to day of like when I'm gardening, like, oh my gosh, like my lungs are filling up, they're releasing and filling like
Right.
naturally, because so
Mhm.
many people on oxygen and with COPD that having air hunger is such a terrible feeling,
Mm,
right? And so scary. And I'm just now so aware of what my body is doing, right? Without me even noticing, and
mhm.
how I just am so grateful for that and using it. I just want to use my body now.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
um, yeah, so things like that have really changed for me in the
Mm,
senses, right? Being really in tune to not just what I see, but smelling and touching and texture, right?
right.
Like how glorious that we get to do all of that through this body, right? For this
Mhm,
short amount of time.
mhm.
So, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. I know it's hard for people to imagine not being in their body. And I think that's a
yeah,
big part of fear is like
yeah,
they don't know what it's like to not have a body. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
We've been in this body for this life,
Yeah.
right?
That's
So,
all we know.
um, yeah, it's hard to know what else it could be like. I imagine it quite often,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
you have glimpses of it, I think, here and there.
I
If
think so. That's what I really enjoy with people too, as they are on their deathbed. And say that they're going in and out of the worlds, right? I mean,
yeah,
they're just going back and forth. And it shows me how accessible all that is. And I mean, I've
yeah,
meditated for quite a while now, so I do know how accessible that is. But for people to be able to learn that while they're still healthy and alive, again, that makes the
yeah,
transition easier because it's like,
yeah.
and I just realized this yesterday. I know probably this, I'm sure this isn't old. an old image, but like dying is like waking up from a dream. Like you wake
Yeah.
up on the other side and you're like, wow,
Yeah.
and you know, and then and you wake up from a dream, and dreams, maybe we judge them, maybe we don't. We probably shouldn't because they just happen. But you know, to be able to wake up and not judge it and just go, oh my gosh, I just lived that life. What was that about?
Yeah.
And
I
so I
love
actually,
thinking about it that way.
yeah, I mean, I really try to do that in my daily life now. Just like find myself in the present moment and just be like, my
Yeah.
life up to this point, wowie, I've made it. Look at. I mean, I'm still
Yeah.
alive. All the things that were
Yeah.
super scary, I obviously got through them.
You got
And
through
so,
them. Yeah. And look at all that you've been able to experience and witness and feel,
yeah, you
right?
know, and the joys and the pains, there's never a
Yeah.
life without pain. That is just the way it is.
Yeah.
We all get
Yep.
to experience that. And
Yep.
to know we can experience, I love it. I mean, I love a good cry. I'll be honest with you. I love a good heartbreak just because
Mm.
just to feel it all. I love
Yeah, you're alive. That's how you know you're
it.
alive. Yeah. Well, and that's
Absolutely.
how I felt before kind of grappling with all of this was I'm starting to not feel any of that, right? Sort of
Hmm.
kind of like everything was becoming sort of numbed. And it
Hmm.
felt like a kind of death, right? I
Yeah.
would say.
Yeah.
And doing this work, I definitely feel more alive
Oh,
because of it.
that's what every doula I know says, that it's a
Yeah.
life
Yeah.
affirming, you know, vocation
Yeah.
that we
Well,
do.
I love what you said about the dreaming because I explain that a lot to families as somebody's in active dying, that they are, because they're going more and more inward, right? And the world out here is actually more like their dream worlds
Right.
because they're becoming more inward and living in this inward experience. And so when they come out, maybe for a moment, we're all in a dream, right, to
Hmm.
them.
Hmm.
And the world that is our reality is, kind of misty, I think, for them. And so that switch is happening. It's that transition time. And I think that's if somebody is able to have that, right, with a natural death, that process, it's so beautiful to witness and be part of. It's also very scary and hard as a family. I don't want to be a person who just says, "Oh, this is so sacred," because it is,
Right.
but also as a
Right.
family member, it's can be very terrible.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
holding all that at once. But
Hmm.
I think for the person dying, I hope that um, it can feel really like a safe place to start that detaching, right, from this world
Hmm.
so that they can cross over to whatever is awaiting them.
Yeah.
Um, but I know it can be hard for families, even with all of the information and support. You're
Yeah.
still witnessing your person leaving you, and that is terrible. It
It
is
is
just
terrible
terrible.
because it's
And
permanent.
I don't want to
It's
undermine
the
that.
that's
Yeah.
the part of it. That physical body is permanently gone. And
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's very hard. Hmm.
Yeah.
Wow. Well,
Yeah.
thank you. This is just
Yeah.
so great. I love
Yeah. I
hearing
love
the
it.
stories. If people would like to learn more about you or get in touch with you, how can they do that?
Well, I have a website, so
Okay.
jessicatomforde.com. My practice is called Blue Jay, actually Jae after my mom, Julie Ray.
Hmm.
So they can go there and read more about me and what I offer.
Okay.
And my email's on there and a contact form and all of that.
Okay.
And yeah, I
Wonderful.
offer, typical doula services
Hmm.
and small gathering for advanced care planning and seasonal gatherings just to practice, you know, natural slowing down and attuning to the ebbs and flows of the seasons and things like that. So I
Oh,
love
that
it.
sounds great. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll link those in the comments and then people will be able to find you. Thank you so much
Yay.
for joining me today.
Yeah. Thanks for chatting. I loved it.
Thank you. All right.
All right.
See you around.
Okay.
Bye.